All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about consistency. You know, I am all for dialing in our programming. I'm all for trying to use the best exercises for any goal. I mean, that's what I do as a coach. Okay, that is what I do as a coach. I optimize things for my lifters, my clients. I do a lot of fatigue management. These are the things that we do. It's important. However, I think what people forget about oftentimes when they start looking for magic secrets are people who are not already consistent. Like if someone's consistent, those are things that I can dial in as a coach. We can get them through sticking points. Maybe they've been 8 years into their training, they've been stuck for a couple years, making no progress. I get them unstuck. Right? This is where we optimize things. But this is generally for people who have a great deal of consistency. Okay, you will see people frequently wasting time who still don't have their novice gains finished, their new gains finished, who are just simply not consistent. Okay, and if you're standing around worried about things like macronutrient ratios, optimizing protein intake, trying to find the exercise with the best angle, relative to the joint and the way it aligns with the fibers, but you don't have a great degree of consistency plotted over a long period of time, you're really just wasting your time. You're wasting your time at that point. This, and it seems like a lot of the stuff that you see online is that people are looking for shortcuts around consistency. And there are times when I have to tell people, look, okay, even if an exercise isn't the most optimal exercise biomechanically for a goal, but you train it consistently with progressive overload, obviously avoiding things like overuse. You don't overtrain, don't overuse, a movement pattern to where you're getting inflammation, but you just consistently train that exercise hard, and you work on improving overload over time, meaning you're over the course of months or even years, you're adding reps or you're adding weight to that exercise. All right, you're going to grow from it. You're going to get bigger. You're going to get stronger. Okay? And people have to understand that. Consistency is probably the most important thing. And again, I know people can come up with exceptions and say, well, if I did this really, really wrong, maybe that consistency, it wouldn't matter because I'd have this problem. It's like, okay, but what if you're not doing things really, really wrong? What if you're just not perfect? I mean, and that's the other thing. If you know something is really, really wrong, then that's not really an argument because you shouldn't be doing it. Who's going to come in and say, oh, I know this is really the wrong thing to do, and it's a really bad idea, but I just keep doing it. Well, in that case, consistency produces results also. If something is going to hurt you and you do it consistently enough because it's dumb, then, well, yeah, you're going to get the expected result. If you consistently eat incorrectly, well, yeah, you're going to get the result of your consistency. And I think that's the thing to remember, right? Consistency always produces results. Consistency always produces results. If you just consistently miss workouts, you consistently cheat on your diet, you consistently eat too much, or you consistently eat too little, it is going to produce a result. It just may not always be the desired result, but it will produce the result. And I mean, case in point, right here, you see me doing rows. Everyone talks about when I do turn around and they see it in my back development, they're like, wow, your back is crazy big. Yet I mostly just do rows. I will see some evidence-based people talk about how rows are not the best lat exercise. I'll hear it all the time. I'm not going to name names, but at least one evidence-based person with a massive following has argued with me about this years ago. Bigger now than I was then. And because I was doing mostly rows and some deadlifts. Rows and deadlifts for my back, and he told me those don't really build a big back. And I'm like, well, here's your back and here's a picture of mine. I've been doing these exercises with progressive overload for many, many, many years. The end result is I have a much bigger back than you. And I think that highlights the point very much. Doing something that you perceive as optimal for whatever reason for a relatively short period of time, let's say a year, because that's a relatively short period of time, versus someone really working hard. It's something that's slightly less optimal, but they've been doing it for 8 or 10 years. In that case, let's say a row, because this person was trying to claim that one-arm lat pull down. Tunnel of the cable is more optimal for lat development or back development in general. And, at that time I just said, well, here's my back. My back's twice the size of yours. I do lots of rows. I'm really strong at rows. I do deadlifts. I have a significant more back development than you. Case in point, we could argue whether he is right or wrong biomechanically, and I don't necessarily think that he is. But I had many more years of consistent hard work doing the exercise that he felt can't stimulate as much total growth. And the end result, I was much, much bigger in that area. Why? Long-term consistency. Working hard and putting in the effort consistently. Okay? It matters. It matters. This is why I oftentimes say things like, if you want to get really strong, squat heavy once a week for the next 10 years. You'll get really strong. We can make arguments that squatting heavy once a week is not optimal. We can make that argument. But irrespective of that fact, if you squat heavy once a week for 10 years straight and never miss a week, assuming you don't get hurt, are you going to be pretty strong? Yes. And it's because a lot of it, you will not only be inconsistent, but you will learn things along the way. You will learn other things that you need to know in the process of doing that while you're keeping that thing consistent. That thing that maybe isn't optimal, because again, we could argue that case, but you're doing something that we know at least works consistently for a decade. Okay, it's going to work. It is going to work. And that's a simple reality of it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.